They don't just leave for greener pastures. They leave because something inside them is slowly dying. Because the place that trained them to heal now makes them sick. This is not just about salaries. It's about survival. This is the story of the silent exodus, white coats in flight. In late 2024, the West African Institute for Applied Health Research and Socio-Economic Development, the first NGO to investigate burnout among Nigeria's healthcare workers, conducted a national survey. The answers were staggering. Burnout is no longer a moment of weakness. It has become the atmosphere they work in. A fog that never lifts. A slow unraveling of purpose and identity.
As a nurse, you are expected to provide holistic and individualized care to your patient. But it's really practically impossible. Imagine when you as a nurse, you're managing a 20-bedded ward all by yourself. How are you expected to be able to care for this patient all at once? We need to tell ourselves some bitter truth. It is practically impossible.
But the pressure isn't only in the workload. It's in the culture. It's in the silence after a colleague is publicly humiliated. In the stares that follow a nurse who dares to speak up. In the routine dismissal of junior voices.
How can I do my work effectively when I have senior colleagues, consultants, and even patients shouting down at me at every instance, making me feel incompetent?
Hospitals, the supposed sanctuaries of healing, have become spaces of internal erosion. When healing becomes hurting, then departure becomes survival.
Can you imagine a case when you, as the only nurse, managing over 5 patients in active phase of labor? That is wickedness, because there is no how you want to provide adequate care to these people. And no wonder we are recording high rate of maternal mortality and neonatal mortality in Nigeria.
Then there's the failure of leadership, a structure where connection often replaces competence. Where systems for growth are absent, where accountability is optional and mentorship is rare. Leadership should create space to grow, but in many places, it closes every door but one: exit. What about the patients? Desperate, in pain, angry, caught in a broken system and looking for someone to blame. But far too often, that blame lands on the caregiver.
It becomes serious in emergency cases when every patient wants 100% attention. You are trying to explain to them, but they are not understanding. Rather, when you are trying to carry out triage, they resort to violence, they resort to beating the nurses, they resort to beating the healthcare personnel.
The slap, the threat, the insults, the shame. Still, doctors show up, nurses respond, midwives comfort. Technicians are just machines which barely work. They give and they give until there's nothing left to give.
You get to a point that you tell yourself the truth. I can't take this anymore. I just have to leave the system. I have to do something better.
That's why they go. To breathe, to live, to remember who they are outside of survival. Japa is not betrayal. It is reclamation. So here we are, a nation bleeding its best. A profession carrying the weight of its own collapse. The real question is not what can be done for them, but what must change within us.
It's high time we take the step in the right direction.
Will we be kind to ourselves? Will we be honest about the culture we protect? Will our leaders choose to serve instead of rule? Will we finally honor the dignity and value of every hand in the healing house? Or will we keep asking, why did they leave? When we should be asking, why did we let them? This is the reckoning. This is the cry beneath the coat. This is white coats in flight. Toxicity in healing houses.
At WAFERS, the West African Institute for Applied Health Research and Socioeconomic Development, our key mandate is to facilitate the translation of scientific evidence into actionable policy and practice through applied health research. Now, the 17-year gap, which is the average number of years it takes between the time that research is developed and to the time that it takes for it to be adopted into practice, is well known in high-income countries. And the impact of this delay in knowledge translation gap is actually even more in low and middle-income countries, as most of our homegrown research hence bounded up in theses and in dissertations, and they end up as badges of honor in our shelves and local libraries. We believe that emphasis should be on knowledge exchange and local applications of knowledge within our settings. Aided by deep understanding of local context and emphasis on people ownership of health initiatives, what we are doing is co-creating sustainable health solutions. We are ensuring dissemination of knowledge, transforming it into tangible health and socio-economic benefits for individuals and for communities. Now, two of our core strategies is health system strengthening and capacity building, and we are committed to addressing challenges related to policy and socioeconomic determinants of health. For instance, as part of the healthcare worker burnout, well-being and retention study, phase 1 of it, we have worked together with stakeholders, diverse of them, to identify solutions to the challenges of burnout and retention of healthcare workers in Nigeria that were identified in our survey. And many of the suggested solutions, they were not far-fetched at all. They were not too expensive to implement if we are willing. So our next focus, therefore, is really working together with the coalition of the willing and ready stakeholders, and that could involve healthcare professionals and their organizations, commissioners of care, private and health institutions, and the Ministry of Health. We want to look into developing these local solutions into proper training, standard procedures, and culture to reduce burnout, improve well-being of health workers, and stamp out toxicity from our healing houses. Once piloted and successful, we will widely roll this out countrywide.